Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Traders Around the World. Welcome to your North American Into the Open session here and live trading. We're going to start off with a pre-market briefing, and then we're going to move into live trading, live analytics, and we'll conclude that with a trade review of the morning and the lessons learned. So we want to read the market, we want to execute, and then we want to learn the lessons that the market has taught us this morning and continue rinsing and repeating. I hope folks are doing very well. Looking very much forward to being here with you today for traders around the world. Give me a good to go and let me know that you are all in your seats and ready and rearing to go. You can give me a lucky number 7 in the chat and we can get started. Looks like folks are all in their seats and ready to go. So without further ado, everything that I do and say here, folks, is for education and insight purposes only. It's not meant as advice. I am not a registered financial advisor or representative. You must consult yours before making any trading decisions. Trading involves risk, not just reward, risk of loss. Trade with money you can wholly afford to lose. When I trade, it's always in line with my risk trading plan, which is unique to me and might not be suitable to you. Consult your registered financial advisor and get a risk trading plan. Whether I'm discussing past trades taken, doing live trades in front of you, coming up with plans and projections for future potential trades, whether I'm doing any or all of the above in any combination with respect to a live cash account, demo account, or a prop trading account, it's all done for education and insight purposes only. It's not meant as advice. Finally, if I poll you in the chat and I give you an average response back to the poll, the sentiment there is not necessarily indicative of the sentiment of the entire group, just those responding. I don't audit the chat, so do take that stuff as anecdotal. All right, folks, I think we are ready to go. So let's get right into where the market is at this stage. I think I want to start off with the bigger picture here and then zoom us down into the technicals that you're looking at on a 1-minute chart overall. So let's start off with the bigger picture here. So what you're looking at right now is a chart of the primary market. So the benchmark for the globe, the S&P E-minis. We are effectively in a spot right now where we have not made lower lows versus yesterday's lows. Okay, we have not been able to come up above a water line, which is roughly in the 74.70 area to start a repair. And what's the market grappling with? Well, you can probably see the mainstream headlines out there saying, hey, the market's waiting right now and pausing for Micron's earnings. Look, Micron is one company. Yes, it's important. I think, 1.1 trillion, 1.3 trillion, somewhere in there in market cap. It's not the biggest out there, but it can be a leading indication for what's to come. So yes, sure, there's some of that in play. Micron's earnings are after the bell. However, if you really look at what's happening here, we had a very, very nasty sell-off yesterday, and we had gotten to an oversold state. We came up off the lows, and what typically happens after that is deer in headlights, a little pause before the next cash hour starts, and then moves start to happen, either breakouts or breakdowns. And we're obviously on the side of more negativity likely to happen. The negative energy from yesterday has not been expunged from the market. So what's the negative energy all about? Well, it's about the wreck in emerging markets overall, tipped off by Korea, offset slightly by geopolitics improving. We are seeing oil go down, which is supportive. In fact, might as well show you that right now. So we'll just look at the Q contract for CL. It is going down. It's down another 3.8%. But what else is going down in this market morning is the euro. And that has a lot to do with which way the dollar is going and which way markets are going to go overall. The euro at the hard right edge over here, as you can see, is down another almost 0.5% at this stage, which means the dollar is up. And we're seeing a rush to, a dash for cash, if you will, as a safe haven in markets at this stage. Why is that important to note? Because if the dollar is continuously staying stronger and people are rushing into the dollar, liquidity is being drained from the system. The bid for the dollar is pushing prices of the dollar up. It's coming out of other currencies. It's coming out of risk assets in general. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we're in a marketplace that has got more risk-off forces, but we're oversold. So we're caught in this spot right now where you can look at things like the euro, you can look at things like oil, you can of course look at gold and silver. Silver has come down and made lower lows. As the dollar has risen, silver has effectively come down and made lower lows versus the lows on June the 11th. It's currently down about 5.1%. Gold at this moment in time is currently making lower lows versus June the 11th and is down about 3.5%. So folks are dumping things that are not the US dollar. And does that include equities? Well, the equity market is a discounting mechanism for the future. So it's going to try its darndest to push up off of an oversold condition. But it's not having great success at doing so far. So let's go and slow this down a little bit and take a look at what the actual equity market charts are doing. We'll take a look at the primary market, the S&P E-minis first. Indecision candle, not a lower low versus yesterday just as of yet. However, indecision, and it's underneath that water line, that volume point of control line that I've described to you that starts at the beginning of May. The value there is roughly 74.70. So we're still below there. While we're below there, downside risk is greater. Especially below 74.30, where there's another volume profile node. And that puts us in the running to come down to the bottom of the weekly pivot range or lower. Okay, so 74.70, okay, very important number. 74.30, very important number. Above 74.70, chance for some sort of a bounce or maybe even a repair bounce. Below 74.30, downside risk, shorting, much cleaner, and probably more disorderly drops in the market. Now, if we take a look at the NASDAQ, again, plain closed charts, just looking at the pivot levels, looks very similar to the ES, right? I just toggled between the two. They look very, very similar to each other, right? So here's the NQ, goes back to the beginning of May effectively. There is a volume profile node sitting at 29,810, 820 in that area. We're below it right now. You can see the price is below it. Getting above 29,820 keeps the door open for some sort of a bounce or a repair that can get us pulled up into the 30,100 to 200 area. While we are below 29,820, downside risks are greater. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the granularity of the technical tools in just a moment here to identify those precise levels where, hey, if we come down below 29,725, is that a problem? Well, yeah, it is actually. So we'll look at that. I want to give you a kind of sense of what's been happening in this indecision print. So let's go and take a look at that by breaking the daily bars out into 5-minute prints. So we can see over here, this is back in the morning of the 22nd. The evening of the 22nd, my apologies, evening of the 22nd into the wee hours of the morning of the 23rd, which is yesterday. And of course, we saw those oscillations. We saw that rip up in the market shortly after the open, contraindicated by all the signals. And we ended up then seeing, signals in the short term turn around. Up we went, back down we went. We've been in a chop zone. This could be a basing pattern, right? It is an indecision print at the end of the day. Getting above effectively the 29,820 area really does open the door for more upside potential and potentially a repair in the market. Let me know if the message on the key levels is fairly clear. You can do that by typing the letter Y in the chat. Okay, you can type in the letter Y in the chat. And Gus, to answer your question, the pivot levels that I use are weekly pivot levels superimposed on daily or 5-minute charts, whatever the time frame is. It's the weekly lines that tend to become the more sticky areas for support resistance, springboards or whack-a-mole areas. Okay, it looks like folks are good to go in terms of that insight. Now, what I want to double check over here with everyone listening in, of course, is that you're all good to go. Looks like we are. Let's go to the next part of the pre-market briefing. So what we want to do now is we want to take the market, the primary market that I want to trade. We'll do this for the ES as well. We're going to start off with the NQ because it's still the lead market. It's the one that's got, the bigger stick, if you will. Both are moving in tandem with each other by and large, but let's go and zoom out to the daily chart and move down to the 1-minute chart. So the key message on the daily chart over here is that we are in a kill zone. Now, for those of you that are students of Rob Hoffman or have listened to him in the past, you'll know that when we've got falling resistance above price and rising support underneath price, rising support in terms of the MSR channel. We've dipped into the upper half, but it's still rising support, falling resistance. This would be a kill zone. What does that mean? One can get chopped up really easily. So the nature of the trade in this zone is, look, if we're starting to see a rip up, we can ride it, but we've got to be very close to risk management, very close to the trades, not a long leash, a very short leash, and expecting shorter duration for moves. If we end up coming down, what's the line that we need to come down below that really unravels things? Well, we're sitting at 29,750 on the NQ right now. You'll see that the actual top of the MSR channel, which is these three lines, that's the moving support and resistance channel. The top of the channel is sitting at that number as well. So that's the first danger line closest to price, 29,750. Below 29,750, all of this range to the middle of the MSR channel opens up. And that's all the way down to effectively 29,450, roughly 29,450. So 750 to 450, 300 points on the downside may be up for grabs. But if we hold above 750 and are able to get above 820, so if we hold above 750 and we're able to get above 820, we can start to try and rip up like we did in yesterday's market shortly after the open, right? We can try to rip up and get all the way up into the falling resistance that you can see over here of the fast speed line, which is that cyan speed line right over there. Now, to keep in mind, the daily chart's still in a buy signal state. It's been damaged though. The rest of the time frames are not necessarily as supportive. The 4-hour chart's in a sell signal state. We're below the speed lines. Okay, the 1-hour chart is in a sell signal state. Okay, we're below the speed lines. We're below the channel. The champion cross zone, that red opaque zone that I'm kind of highlighting here, is starting to grow again, which means nearer term momentum is starting to expand to the downside. When we take a look at the 5-minute chart, it's a range where we've effectively come down to the secondary low of the range. We had a low of the range that broke a little earlier around 8:55 a.m. And we came down to the bottom, which is effectively back over here. And this happened around 12:30 a.m., 12:25 a.m. Eastern time today. We've tested it. We're holding it. We're trying to bounce back up. The 1-minute chart should start to emerge through signals, cell structures if we're going to go higher. And if it's an right? If we get up there, because when we take a look at the signals, the daily chart is damaged. It's not broken though. You come down below the MSR channel, it's broken. And then you've got the 4-hour chart in a sell signal state. And the 4-hour chart tends to project its signal out 3 to 5 days. So it's casting a dark shadow on the market. The hourly chart, which is really the boss, tends to project out 3 to 6 hours. It's in a sell signal state. You can see the champion trend sell zone. You can see the champion cross zone. You can see the red dots at the bottom of the main chart. And of course, additional signals when we were precipitously falling. And then, of course, on the hourly chart, we're now in a muddled mess going sideways, starting to weaken a little bit more. The 5-minute charts coming back down towards the lows. So we have to be very cautious about this market in terms of, hey, if this market is going to come down and sustain, which it's right now below 29,750, yeah, the downside risk to the lows of the session, downside risk to lower lows, i.e. the center of the MSR channel, is a very real thing. Let's do this quite quickly here, as we've got about a minute left before the market starts up again. And let's go and take a look at this for effectively the S&P E-minis. So let me just pop that up on your screen right now. So what you're looking at right now is a multi-time frame dashboard. I'm just going to expand it to one chart at a time here. And the most important message that I can give here really does come off the daily chart, right? Anything below the 74.30 area opens the door for downside risk for the ES. Getting back up and above 74.70 to 74.80 opens the door for a struggle busting move back up into the lower 7500s. Right now, the key message that I can give you is that the market is in a sell signal state on a daily chart for the primary market. It's in a sell signal state on the 4-hour chart. That happened right back over here, and that has not abated as of yet. The hourly chart's in the same sort of spot, and the sell signal state is trying to reassert itself with prices coming down below the channel. So now live markets have started trading. Let's go and just go take a quick look-see at how things are shaping up for the markets that we want to trade over here, in particular the NASDAQ. So I'm going to zip you over. You can see over here, we're below this 29,750 area. We're at the 650 area. Let's go to the hourly chart. Look at any structures of support. Nope, it's just the lows. Okay, let's look at the 5-minute chart. No structures of support. Okay, we're breaking lows from the wee hours of the morning. Let's see if there's some action to be had right out of the gates with perhaps a scalp-like short. So we've already dropped The first little 1 minute bar has dropped down. We've made lower lows. Have we actually come down and taken out the lows of the session? Not yet. We haven't even taken out yesterday's lows just as of yet. That would be somewhere in the 575 area. So we're in the 660 area at this moment in time, 650 area with downside pressure in play. But we've seen this market kind of go range bound and then break the range, right? And then not yet come down below the lows of the session. So I want to give it a moment to breathe over here before I take my first trade and get a good sense of whether or not this thing is going to continue, in this fashion to the downside. So I've got a reversal wick on the candle, deeply oversold at this moment. The chart that I'm really trading is the 5-minute chart. It's in a sell signal state. I'm waiting to see more signals on top of the current bar that say, beyond the price dip, we're actually establishing a resumption of this move down. Because we had a sequence moving down, we went sideways, we're opening the door for another sequence down right now. I'm not seeing any other signals on top of the current 5-minute bar, so I have to go back down to the 1-minute bar and use the basics of price. If price comes down below the lows of the last closed bar, I can probably try a very quick entry on the short side. I'm going to keep my finger near the trigger, but it doesn't look like it's presenting now. I'm backing off. Now, taking a long here is a little too challenging. It's a little too risky. It could end up working, kind of like yesterday, where we had a setup where, you heard me say the hourly chart projects out 3 to 6 hours. And very likely, as we move through the day, we're going to make lower lows. We did. But in the morning, we had a rip up. That rip up is something that can happen again, right? We're coming off of an oversold condition. So the 1-minute chart's trying to break through resistance of its MSR channel, and we're starting to come up into falling resistance of the channel on the 5-minute chart, but it is getting more expansive. And I've categorically, I've missed trying to jump onto the coattails of this expansive move. For those who have gotten it, amazing. I'm going to have to look for a continuation move up. And I'm not comfortable getting in just as of yet. Let's go back to that 5-minute chart. So a breach above 810 to 820. It's interesting how these numbers always keep coming back. Is probably going to open the door for more. I might want to try a trade that pushes up to 820. We should have an echo after that big bar. So if we come up and we push through, I'm going to enter alongside trade. Looks like it's entered. Looks like it's profit positive. I want to see if I can keep that profit positivity going over here. There it is. And it looks like I'm taking $95 of profit on my first trade. So that was just a little scalp. Just get my feet wet. I am above the 29,830 area, but we've had a very expansive move up already. So in order for this to firm up, give me a reason to say that it's going to continue, I need to wait a little bit and allow time to pass here to get this thing going truly. So give me a moment over here to just double check the ES as well. The ES is sitting at 74.62. It's almost at that 74.70 marker. Giving me some reason to believe that, hey, this market might actually not be in a fake out rise, but might actually be in a rise that can start to mature and stabilize. In fact, why don't we actually take a look at trading the S&P E-minis for a moment as well and see if we can get some continuation potential there. It's a bit of a slower move, of course. The Nasdaq moves much more rapidly, and you can see things move around. But that of course is going to also come hand in hand with a little more risk. It might be a smoother ride on the ES, and I'm trying to figure that out right now. As we pause over here, I'm glad that I took a pause. Are we in a bull flag that's about to break out? I'm watching both the ES and the NQ at this time, and I'm going to take you over to my ES chart. Let's get that popped up on the screen. And really, I'm going to be trading. The. Looks like my mouse is deciding to flip things around a little too much, so let's leave that to the side. Too many windows open, it looks like. So I'll just leave that to the side for a moment. I'll just comment on it. If I want to take a long side trade right now, I'm above the 820 area. If we pop up above the high of the second last close 1 minute bar, I can try another entry long on the NQ. I could also try an entry long on the ES because we'd be above structures of resistance on the 5 minute chart. Now, is it likely that we're going to repeat the exact same thing as yesterday? It's it's doubtful that that's the case. It's doubtful that that's the case, but it could happen. So I want to keep my mind open to, that potentially happening. But it's doubtful that it's exactly the same thing. So if I'm going to take a trade right now on the NQ, it's going to be above the high of the second last close 1 minute bar. And I'm going to be trading it up into the 860s potentially to 880s. There is resistance at around the 890, 895 area that we have to be somewhat concerned about. Okay, we're trying to make another push up. We're trying it right now. We've pushed up. I'm taking the breach above that high. I want to see continuation. I'm looking for continuation. If I don't see continuation, I'm going to have to get out of the way. And right now, I'm still holding the trade way too long. I have to get out of the way, take a little hit on that one. That's okay. I'll get back on the horse. I tried to see if that breach of the high was a breach of a bull flag to look for continuation. And look, we were coming up above sell signals on the 5-minute chart, but we have not been able to sustain above those sell signals as of yet. So perhaps lightning does not strike twice in the same spot, right? Meaning we perhaps don't make the same move that we did yesterday. And we are in a sell signal state on the hourly chart. Now, I don't want to rush back in and take the next trade on the short side until I know that things are actually falling apart. And I have to do a little refresh, my apologies, on another template here that has my S&P E-minis on it. So I'm just doing that off screen right now because I want to make sure I've got the ES up and running while I'm, of course, working with you on trading both the ES and the NQ. So let's give it just a moment over here before I get that up and come back to you with the live analysis to see which way I want to go. So bear with me for a moment here while I do that. All right. So we're still indecisive. The market's still coiled up to try and go higher. So I'm not seeing it roll over to the point where it's coming down below support structures, ready to unravel. 750 would be that number. We're around 800 right now. And the ES is still struggle busting its way up towards the 7470-ish line, which keeps my door open for a potential long over there. Now, I'm going to just get that all organized so that you are able to see my ES chart as well. And we'll do it in a similar fashion to what we're doing with the NQ. I'll have a multi-time frame ready to go there for you. But of course, the way that I'm going to present it to you is going to be one chart at a time, which I think will make it a lot easier for us to digest overall. So let's go and take a look at that right now. You can see the NASDAQ's coming right back down again at this moment in time. Let's go and see how this plays itself out. So I'm just watching and waiting right now to see if the NASDAQ breaks, because it's either the NASDAQ that's going to bully the S&P around, or the S&P can pick up some of the slack for the NASDAQ. And I'm in a bit of an indecisive moment based on what I'm seeing on chart, to rule one way or the other. Right now, the NASDAQ is not giving me what I would want to say I want to take on a long side trade. That's to be sure. It's getting much closer to wanting to take on a short side trade at this moment. The ES is also coming back down, and we're below the speed lines. We are in a mixed signal state where the 5-minute chart's in a buy, holding above the MSR channel. The 1-minute chart's still in a buy, weakening, holding above its MSR channel. The hourly chart, however, is the main issue at this stage, right? The hourly chart is still in a sell signal state that's weakened, but it's above the speed lines. It's in the lower half of the MSR channel. It's trying to get up to the halfway marker or above. We know there's a number at 74.70. I'm not seeing anything good on the long side at this stage, and I'm waiting to see if a bearish cross happens on this 1-minute chart for the ES, and perhaps we're making a round trip all the way back down to where we started the day. Could I try a short on a sell signal? I can. Sell signal is tentative. It's there. I'm trying a short tentatively right now. It is in the money. Fingers on the trigger to get out in case I get whipsawed. And I want to see if I can push that back down again. It's fighting at this moment. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. And I'm going to take $112.50 of profit on the ES on the breach down to the bottom of the 1 minute chart's MSR channel. What kind of damage is this doing on the 5 minute chart? Well, it's taking us down to the bottom of the MSR on the 5 minute as well. So they're very closely aligned at this stage, which happens when you're in a more of a sideways range type market. Are we coming down below that low? We are below low. We're below the support structures on the hourly chart. So that supports the idea of down. The 5 minute chart is below its MSR channel. The 1 minute chart's below the MSR channel. So we are dealing with a continuation down, and I'm going to see if I feel like I'm a little late in re-entering the trade here. I took the trade down to the bottom of the channel. I want to see that we actually see some sort of a close, at least on a 1 minute bar, below the bottom of the 3-line channel there before I take the trade. And this, of course, also opens the door to, hey, is the NASDAQ bullying the ES down? It is. It is doing so at this stage. So if I take a look at the NASDAQ with you very briefly, let's just go pull that up and take a look at that. We can see that it has pushed all the way back down towards the session lows, and it's trying to come back down, and it's actually making lower lows at this stage. Now, I don't want to short at a low unless I know there's continuation potential. So there very well could be, right? We are in an aligned sell signal state. The 4-hour chart's in a sell, 1-hour chart's in a sell. Okay, but we're coming down to lows that we've seen in the 575 area. We're at 650. So I really want to see if we're going to continue this journey down towards the 575 area, and I will try a short below the low of the current bar. If I start to see it accelerate lower, I'm going to stay very close to it, of course. So I said I'd try it. I'm in it. I don't want it to get away from me. I certainly don't want to get it ripping up on me. I've got it profit positive right now. It's continuing, and okay, $160 of profit on that trade. Okay, so effectively, I'm taking pieces of the move on the way down. We are coming down to a low, right? We're coming down to a low area where what we've seen has to be taken into account. We made a low, 9 a.m. Eastern time bar yesterday and ripped up, right? We followed through up. Remember, we had a downtrend over here, and then we rolled back down. You heard from me throughout the morning yesterday that the 1-hour chart signal suggests that we're going to make lower lows during that trading day, and we did. We came down, and we're headed down towards that area right now. We're below the low bar from 9 a.m. yesterday. We're below the lows of 11 p.m., and we're continuing to progress to the downside. I'm seeing the ES slow down in its decline at this stage, and I'm seeing the NQ slow down in its decline at this stage, which is somewhat concerning, if you will, for those who want to be short at this moment, right? Could we be finding support at effectively a range low? And is that support at this range low something that is going to hold for a little while? I'm going to take the ES chart, put it up on your screen over here so I can kind of just toggle between the two. And what I want to demonstrate over here is that, hey, look, the ES did not come down and make a lower low versus where it started this trading day. You're looking at a 1-minute chart. So for those of you that might be newer to wealth charts, you can see it's fairly easy to understand what you're looking at. It's the ESU 1-minute chart. So it's going to be highlighted blue for the chart that I'm on. If I toggle over here to the NQ, you can see the same sort of thing. It's just in dark mode. So the NASDAQ did have a deeper depth, right? It did come down. It did make a lower low versus where we kind of started the day. It's trying to find support in this area and turn itself around. It has not done enough just yet to convince me that it's going up. We could simply resume a sell. We have opened the door to lower lows. The number that I think we need to take out is still a little lower than where we are right now. It is in the upper 500s. So call it 575 at this stage, because that would be a fairly clear message that, this thing is going to break down. Otherwise, this could be a basing range. This could be something that holds support, and we end up, holding that support, getting ready to bounce back up, which has happened, right? It happened 9 a.m. bar yesterday. It happened in the afternoon yesterday after we made the lows. It happened last night, right? You can see it at the 7 p.m. hourly bar, and you can see it over these two as well. So it shouldn't be a surprise what we're seeing right now. Does it make for a great long side trade? No, I don't have buy signals. I'm in a sell signal state, rising into falling resistance. 1 minute chart, same sort of thing. There's obviously, with a 1 minute chart, we're going to have a little bit more motility. But let's see if we've got, some sort of a move that can take us a little further up at this stage or not. Looks like folks are having some lively comments in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. I know it's very early after the open, at this stage. We're not dealing with a lot of history under our belts as of yet. So we've got a limited runway so far for cash hours. And what we've seen is a bump, a dump, with the NASDAQ coming down to a lower low, the ES not doing so. So is the ES picking up some slack for the NQ? It perhaps is. We are in a buy signal state on a 1 minute chart. This is a range bound trade setup. We are at the halfway marker of theoretically the range that we've been in from cash hours. Well, realistically, not theoretically. And I'm considering taking on a long side trade above the top of the MSR channel here. We're poking our hairs above. The trade's gone profit positive. I want to see if we can push right up and get a move that takes us up and above the center of the range. I'm not seeing it. I'm taking a $100 hit on that one. I'm going to wait again to see if I get that 1 minute bar coming up, closing above that 1 minute chart MSR channel, somewhere around 74, 58, 59. And perhaps we can get a retrace back up to the top of the range. I don't think it's a great trade. Break the top of the range, break the bottom of the range, probably better. There's no guarantees that it comes up, as you can see. Glad I got out of the way of that trade. Let's look at this on a 5 minute chart, which is really the signal that I want to trade. It's still a buy signal on that 5 minute chart, but as we know, now we're seeing a transition. So with wealth charts, if the math for the algorithms works intra-bar for the life of that bar, the signal will toggle on. If the math starts to not work, the signal will toggle off. But if it remains at the end of the bar, it's a confirmed signal, right? And it's not going to repaint after that. It's simply going to be on chart. So right now we're in this tentative spot where the buy signal is eroding, right? Double green dots, single blue dot, single blue dot. The buy signal's cooled off. Let's see if the buy signal can reassert itself. And I'm looking at the NASDAQ at this moment in time. It seems to be bullying the ES lower. The NASDAQ's headed down to lows, and it's threatening to break lows. Again, we are coming down into a low area where we're almost below the lows of this entire pattern, and it can accelerate from here. We're getting very close to that. 575 is my number. Fingers on the trigger, buttons depressed, waiting for that breach. We got a breach. I want to see that breach continue down. I don't want to see it rip up. If it's in the mid 70s, I'm going to have to start thinking about getting out of the way. And it did get into the mid 70s. So I ended up having to get out of the way. So I tested it. I didn't see follow through. Okay. Now I bought near the low of the bar, looking for the bar to continue forward into the close of the bar. The next bar is going to open up in a second here. And it's not a direct down bar. So not interested in taking on the short trade here. Could it test falling resistance? Could I try it there? It's oversold, but we've got a down pattern. So I'm considering it. I want to go back to toggle on the ES and see if I can get some guidance there. We've come down and effectively tested and breached slightly below the lows that we had back over here at 931. So still waiting. And John Paul, that's an interesting comment. Big volatility divergence. Yep. And it's just ripping right back up. So this is very choppy, right? This is not a great environment overall. And it is a kill zone, right, that we're in. So Rajan, you're absolutely right about that. So at this stage, we're holding after making lower lows. We're trying to rip right back up. We're almost above the resistive structures on the 5 minute chart, but we're still in a kill zone right now. And it's compressed, right? The fact that we're getting back up is good. Above 74.63, there might be some room for the market to breathe. and I could start considering long side trades, which is effectively me saying get above the top of the range, which I'm waiting for right now. That's way too whippy. You know, these are 1 minute bars, right? Way too whippy. And I'm waiting at this moment to see if the opportunity does present. Nasdaq's getting a little perkier as well. It's not above 750 yet. And the number that it needs to get above is 775. Can I try a breakout? I'm trying one right now. Looking for follow through on this breakout. Nasdaq is still pushing up, so I've got some cred to try it for this breakout and see if we can get a little push higher. There we go. There we go. And okay, 1.50, but just want to keep stacking it up. So we've got that breach above 64, and the Nasdaq is getting a little perkier right now, making it a little more interesting potentially to trade. So I'm looking for whether or not that opportunity presents. And I'm going to work that opportunity in just a moment here. Let's flip over and see if we can get that opportunity on the table. We're above 75. We're breaching resistance. I'm taking the breakout above resistance to trade to the top of the range. And this might be a bad story if it does not pick itself back up very quickly at this stage. So I'm going to have to wait for a moment over here to see if I can get that follow through. We are on a buy signal. It is struggle busting its way up to the top of the range. It has not been able to get all the way up there. The ES has, however, been able to get up and breach the top of the range, and it's holding at this moment in time. So I'm waiting patiently right now to see if I get that move that takes me back up and above, major resistance. And I want to see if the ES can become more tradable at this stage. I'm still in the trade on the NQ, waiting very patiently to see if I can get it following through at this stage. And I'm not seeing enough follow through. The ES is giving me a better backbone for the trade. The trade is still alive. I think it's just gone slightly profit positive to slightly profit negative. It's struggling here. It's struggling at the top of the range. The ES has got that impulse that potentially can work and give me the result that I need. I'm looking for it right now on the NQ, got some profit positivity, and I'm taking pretty much a scratch on this last one here. I'm gonna take you back to the ES, which seems smoother to me to trade, and I'm gonna try to trade it if it wants to continue higher from where we are right now. So I've got double green dots, I've got the fast speed line as support, I've got the buy signal on the 1 minute chart, I've got the buy signal with the double green dots on the 5 minute chart, but I'm rising into falling resistance on the hour, right? So we know that there's resistance at 74. This trade is up to 74. Above 74, there may be more, right? So I'm going to wait to see if that works itself out or not. The big difference between trending days and range-bound days. We're in a range day, right? So I'm going to try the trade on the ES above the high of the this little pause range, but that's right into 74 resistance. So I think I have to wait for that to breach 74 and a half, 75 and a half, somewhere in that territory. And we might be waiting, and it might not end up working itself out, right? We might have to wait to see. Now, is the Nasdaq going to lead it up? So I'm looking for an opportunity where it may be able to lead it up, but I'm not seeing enough happen right now. So it's still a wait moment. Big dip, roll over, slightly lower low, push back up to make a slightly higher high on the S&Ps, not on the Nasdaq. And it seems to be in control, saying, oh, watch your back. Now we're getting close to the end of the first hour. And this is a moment where one wants to be very cautious, not really sitting back going, I'm willing to just accept it rolling right over again. It's falling into rising support. So right now, no trade for me, waiting. waiting, waiting, and waiting. And Tom, that's a good question. You know, the range is depicted more so by looking at the hourly chart, right? So it's very, very, very clear that we're either in a consolidate to bearishly continue lower, or a basing range where we come up off the top of the range and then start some sort of a repair. So we dipped our toes down. We actually made a slightly lower low than the overall range low, than all of the tails on the candles that you can see over here. But we didn't sustain below there. We ripped right back up. So at this stage, I cannot, decide and say and project to say that this is a base to, bullishly bounce. It could still be consolidate to continue lower. We are on sell signals on that hourly chart. We are now transitioning back to sell signals on the NQ on a 5-minute chart. And when you have these whippy signals like this, we have to wait. It's not clean trading. You can get a scalp here or there, but we're not trending. We're in a very choppy market. And Mark B, I see your comment in there about the speed of which things are moving, and noted. At this moment in time, I'm not in any trade. I'm just waiting. Want to get back on the ball here with a long side trade if we're breaking out above 775. Short side trades can start to become real below 650. And we are coming close to the end of the hour, which has some mechanical changes happen. There's some data as well at 10 a.m. I think it's new home sales. So not interested in trading into the data. I'd rather be flat. But if there's an opportunity to trade this back to the bottom of the hard part here is that I see a coil, and coils are dangerous. You can see the coil yourself over here very easily. Let me just get a line drawn on this so you can kind of get a sense of it. Let's see if I can grab that right here, to there. And then let's just copy that and do another one. We'll have to take it from that low. And we don't know where the bottom of the coil is yet, right? Could it be here? And could that be the apex? Potentially, but it could easily breach the bottom of that coil and give us quite a bit of a spill down to the bottom of the range. Could also break out. So I don't like the coulda, woulda, shouldas. I want to see some clarity over here. And this is just a way to make the eye trained to go, hey, decisions are better if the coil breaks to the upside. So I've got the coil on the screen. I've got structures of resistance above me. 29,750 or higher makes sense. And I don't know yet because I don't have enough tests, that this is the bottom of the coil. But theoretically, if we break here around 675, we could see a drop that takes us down to the lows or lower, potentially. And I'm not averse to trying it. I don't want to catch a falling knife and go long. I'd rather catch the drop and look for a waterfall lower, but that might be hopeful in a day like today, right? The market is very hesitant, very indecisive in general on the day. I'm trying the break of the coil. It's profit positive, slightly negative, slightly positive. I don't want to let it get away from me. But I've got the break of the coil. I'm not seeing profit positivity on it yet. I'm still in resistance, so I'm holding the trade. I'm going to keep holding the trade for a moment over here. I'm going to look at the ES at this moment in time, and I'm going to go, is it coming down below support? Is it breaching that support structure? It's getting very close to, but it's not giving it to me yet. The NQ is still, I'm still alive on that trade, but it's not in profit positive territory. It was briefly a moment ago, but it's whipping around way too fast at this stage. If I can get something out of it, great. Looks like I'm getting a nice trade out of it right now. I'm going to take that $490 of profit on the break of the coil. Not really exceptionally enthused about that trade, but it did get me back into the game on the day. So I'm happy about that, but I don't know yet that we are going to unravel completely. This is a very whippy market, and it's the range and the size of the moves are quite dramatic. So here's your ES chart. We held the bottom of the MSR channel there, right? We breached it on the NQ, and we're below it on the NQ. So the NQ is still bullying the ES around. That's to be sure. So at this point, I'm looking for my next trade on the ES or the NQ. We've obviously crossed the hour. Whatever the data had to do, did what it had to do. And exactly, Mark B. Yeah, it was harder to hold that. And I kind of pulled the chart off the screen so you could see the ES. And that was my concern, right? It was trying to breach, but it was still holding. Now it's breaching. I can actually try a trade here at this stage. We're past the hour, but I want to see a close below at least the 1 minute charts channel by a 1 minute bar. 5 minutes still not on a sell signal yet. It's trying to come down to it, and I'm worried that it's going to just be in this over. If you look at the values on the triple S indicator on the right-hand side of the screen, it's kind of mid-range, right? If we're closer to the 45, 40 area, deeply oversold. If we're closer to the 55, 60 area, highly overbought. And we're kind of mid-range right now. So I would like to see a crossover signal here. Have the triple S line come down below the dashed black line, which is the fast momentum line. Have it come down below the slow momentum line. Break support of the channel. Otherwise, this is a trap, and I don't want to be in a trap. Okay, now the Nasdaq. I don't want to bias us by saying that this is the coil bottom, right? The coil bottom could be what we're developing now. And it could effectively be that low right there. Let me see if I can get that, kind of fashioned on the screen. Something like that, and the coil bottom could break. At the end of the day, that could make for a great trade, but you've seen the big ranges. Just with a one contract trade, the P&L whips around 400 up, 400 down, 400 up, 400 down. That's a lot of risk to withstand. This is where one could change to the micros. I don't typically trade them, so I'm not going to flip to that, but I can slow down the trade volatility that I'm taking on by trading the ES, for example. So right here, and it's still a wide range for here. We could easily see, moves of on a one contract trade, 4 or 5 points up or down fairly quickly. 200, 250 bucks on a one contract trade could happen very, very quickly here. So I want to be careful with it, right? I don't want to be sitting in a spot where I'm cavalier about it at all. And it looks like the market's like hesitating at this stage. Indecision is what we're seeing, right? Indecision, which is problematic overall. How are folks doing overall so far on the day? Let me know. Feel free to comment in the chat. In my FFF accounts, I am net slightly green, it looks like, or just very, very close to break even. So I want to actually get up and going, but I don't want to take a trade that I'm not comfortable with. I want to look for the pattern, and the pattern right now is this whippy coiled action where it's slowing down on its way down. It's trying its darndest to come back up again. If you look at it on the NQ is probably leading the ES, and it is back up to the top of that coil, and it could be busting out above the top. It's still not going to be in a full-on buy signal state, but I can use the insight on the NQ coming up to the top of the coil. If it busts the top of the coil, call it 730. Okay. We then have room up to about 770, 780, which can happen in milliseconds, as we've seen. But that can encourage my decision to try a long on the ES. Right. So what do we know here so far from the start of the day? So that's the start of the day, left-hand side of your screen, got into a buy signal state in the second minute of trade, came up to a plateau, virtually came to the same plateau, slightly higher. Okay, after coming down to test and made a slightly lower low versus the original lows. And now we're headed back up, but not off the low. So it's still a coil. I'm going to try a long. If I see a 1 minute bar sustain, but not run too far above the top of the 1 minute charts channel. So we're above it. We poked above. I want to see it close above because I saw myself make that decision here. And I didn't wait for the close of that 1 minute bar, and it didn't work out for me. And then I had to work hard to get back. So now I want to make sure that I see a close above the top of that channel on at least a 1 minute bar, with the NASDAQ, leading me higher. The NASDAQ came right up to the top of the coil, interestingly enough, literally to the top of the coil, and pushed right back down. A true coil requires at least 3 oscillations on one side, right? So we've got 1, this would be 2, this could be the 3rd. And if we do come down and break below the bottom, it would be a more expansive move lower. If we do break above the top, it could be a more expansive move higher. That's the nature of the market when it's coiling up like this. So it's trying. I'm going to try to take it on the ES. I'm still waiting for that 1 bar to close above the top of the channel. And I've got this interesting pattern with the SSS toolkit on screen. It's a setup called pre-trade conditioning. It's where we get at least 3 signals, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down. So at least 3 have happened. If we're left with an up on the end of this bar, I'm waiting for 1 bar to close above the top of the channel with the double green dots, like the next bar after the signaled bar, or I need 2 bars, rising sequentially, closing higher than the other above the top of the channel, and that's a high probability pattern for up. It could also break to the downside. We've got 3 signals. We'd be waiting for price action to be below the channel. We've got that last signal as a down. We'd be waiting for it to be below the channel. And we'd be waiting for at least 2 bars to close sequentially lower for the pattern to be engaged, or 1 bar with the double red dots moving down of course, below the channel. So right now, way too indecisive. Great moment to get your fingers chopped up. So I'm not interested in trading it. NASDAQ's behaving in a similar manner. Nothing too different at this moment. I'll flip you back to the NQ. We're still in the coil. And when you get to the spot where it's like, it looks like it's about to, and you convince yourself something's going to happen, front run the trade, I tend to make mistakes if that happens. I'd rather see it happen. So we're breaching the bottom. Okay. We're below the MSR channel bottom by 1 bar here. And if I take this setup right now, I don't know that it's truly engaged. I've got 1 bar closing below the MSR channel, moving down. This next bar is moving down. So I could theoretically try it on this bar. Especially below the low, below 40. I think I'm going to wait for 47 to breach. And I'd be trading it down to the low of effectively a sideways range that we've been in. And Donna, I like your comment. We are all very good at convincing ourselves that something is going to happen. It's not just you, dear. We are all very good at that, and we have to avoid it, right? We want to trade what we see, and that's the key over here. So I'm waiting patiently for the next trading opportunity. We're still in this little coil that I've drawn up on the screen. We've done some damage potentially to the bottom. We're trying to oscillate back to the top. And we have to keep in mind the big picture here, right? Started off the morning saying, hey, we're in a kill zone. The daily chart has got falling resistive structures above us, rising support below us. It can be very whippy. You heard that before I did or said anything else, right? This is a problematic situation for the market. If the whole thing's going to roll over, we need to come down, make lower lows versus yesterday that are substantial. We made slightly lower lows on the NASDAQ, but the substantially or significant lower low would be below the center of the MSR channel. That's all the way down in the 29,400s, 450 area, right? We'd have to be well below there. And Kip, it looks like you're doing well. That's amazing. I'm personally trading the 5-minute chart. I'm using the 1 minute as a triggering mechanism to trade the 5-minute chart at the end of the day. I'm also looking at the interplay between intermarket type behavior between the ES and the NQ. The ES is a little wild. Sorry, the NQ is a little wild right now as it's coiling, okay, which forced me to go over and say, hey, if I want to take a trade, I'm going to let the NQ kind of guide me because it's bullying the ES around, right? If it breaks down below the bottom of the coil, breaks out above the top, it can help me with a ES trade that might be a little smoother. So right now, I'm going back to the ES. I'm seeing these oscillating signals. I want it to break one way or the other, but I might not get what I want. I might have to wait for a while before that happens, and I have to be patient with that. So I've got another down signal on the current 1-minute bar. We're below the 3-line channel. It's called the MSR channel, moving support and resistance channel. Okay, I want to see it close below there. I want to see another bar open up, moving down. Okay, so we closed above the bottom of the channel, but with a signal. Double red dots are appearing. We're trying to breach the bottom of the channel. Okay, might be fodder for a short side trade, but I need to see the pattern really engage. There it is. Okay, there it is. We're seeing some action now. And I'm thinking of taking the trade before the pattern fully confirms, which would require this bar to close below the channel and the double red dots to be in place. So I'm thinking about it, but clearly have not taken it yet. How do you trade this kind of whippiness, right? We're waiting for a clear breakout or breakdown. Now, if you take the bias of the market being oversold, you look at it or think about it as glass half full, because most folks are configured to buy low, sell high, and trade long side trades rather than short. That's the general way that people have a sentiment inside them. The oversold condition does support up, but the signal structure supports down. The dollar rising so dramatically, euro falling supports down, right? That's more of a risk off cue. Okay, so we're left with a down. We've got the double red dots. It's similar to the last bar. I don't want to take it until the bar's closed, right? We had the double red dots with price below the channel on the last 1-minute bar. We have it right now, right? But the last 1-minute bar ripped right back up. This is trying to make a lower low, which might encourage the trade. But I am dipping my toes down into where support is. So I'm more hesitant to want to take this type of trade, even though I've got a setup that's almost come to fruition, right? The way that the setup works is with this indicative toolkit, you want at least 3 signals separated by no more than 6 bars, between each signal. And then whichever signal you're left with, you're looking for action above or below the channel. So in this case, we're left with a down. We got the double red dots. We are closing. We did close slightly below the channel, but not on a down tick, if you will, overall. Right? We ripped up. So I can try the trade below the low of the last closed 1-minute bar. I've got my finger on the trigger. I'm waiting to see price breach below that low. And, Fuad, I agree with you. It's super, that's a great way to characterize it. Super wicky, which means at the end of the day, it whipsaws a lot. And that's the nature of the day that we're in, right? And I haven't pulled up the NQ for a bit, so let me just get that back on screen. So theoretically, this is a coil and we broke, right? But typically when coils break, we accelerate. That hasn't happened. So this is not a coil. As simple as that. We're just trying to get out from under a downtrend formation. That's the better way to characterize what is happening effectively. So I'm just going to try to draw that trend formation in as accurately as I can here. Okay. right? If it was a coil, we breached the bottom of the coil. We didn't spill. Okay, this is just a horizontal support. You know, if you're a chart pattern enthusiast, this could be a descending triangle. Below the lows, roughly below 635, which we're coming down to, it could give me the opportunity to trade that ES trade on the short side. And I'm waiting to see if that becomes a reality. I'm more comfortable doing that than taking a short on the NQ in this whippy environment. Could end up being a great payout, but okay, so now I've got enough in play to allow me to take the trade if this bar goes red and goes below the lows of the last closed 1 minute bar, which we just dipped below. So I'm willing to take the trade now. I've got a pattern. I'm using a pattern. Okay, the pattern effectively is the oscillative signals. It's working, not incredible. It's still a whippy market, so don't avoid your risk management here. That's for sure. I don't like what I'm seeing right now, but the pattern is still what I'm holding on to. I've seen enough down. I know I'm in a whippy market coming closer to lows. I know it's closer to oversold. And I might end up just taking what I can if it gives me something. Okay, I'm scraping $50 of profit off of that particular entry. Now comes the question of, shoulda, coulda, woulda, held it longer. Well, look, it's coming down to local lows. I'm going to be much more comfortable trading this whippy market below the low or above structures of resistance. And in particular, structures of resistance that the NASDAQ has been operating under, right? So it's still under the downtrend. It's come down. It's almost below that local low at 9:48 a.m. Eastern time on that 1 minute bar. Below there, I think we've got a fairly clean message, right? We've got the pre-trade conditioning pattern for short on the NQ 1 minute chart as well, right? We've got an up, we've got a down, we've got an up, got a down, got the double red dots. We're left with a down. We're below the bottom of the channel. So that's supportive. Is the 5 minute similar? Yes, it is. It's in the same sort of signal setup. Again, it's still a whippy market, so I'd much rather trade the ES on the short side, and I am considering entering below the low of this bar to trade to the low, or wait for it to come down below 37 and 3 ticks. Probably going to want to wait for it to come down below there before I make my next trading decision. I'm just going to move this off. I think I reorganized some of the windows here, so I'm just going to make sure I've got them all in the right spot before I bring the NQ chart back up. Oh, I just moved the 1 minute chart to a side window. Let's get that back up. Let's get that docked here. There we go. So very close to those lows, right? Very close to those lows, but not below them yet. What we do have is a sell signal state on that 1 minute chart that is getting more expansive, which is good. And the ES is being pulled and tugged around by the NQ. Okay, which again, I need to see the NQ continue lower to give me a reason to trade the ES on the short side again. One of the things that we should note over here is that we are in a market. Bear with me for just a moment over here. We are in a market that, against statistical measures on the day, we're near the lower end of these volume weighted average price cones on the day, which is problematic, right? The farther away you are from normal, the higher the propensity is that we can pull up. And I agree, TJ Babs, no trade ever has a perfect setup. Perfection is rare, right? In all areas of life. So you have to make do with what you've got, leaning to the majority decision. The majority decision for me would still be a short. So I fully agree with what you're saying, right? Nothing, perfect moments are few and far between, right? We have to choose from the best of a series of imperfect moments. And this is one of them. And I'm taking it down to the low. I'm taking it down to the low. I'm expecting us, with the organized sell signal state that we're in, to push all the way down rather than get pushed up. And there's $100 of profit on that trade, right down to the low. Now, I didn't want to stay in it because we are coming down to a low, right? Let the low breach. which we're almost at, and we are breaching right now. And we've come down below 37 and 3 ticks. We're hovering in that area right now. I do want to see, if it whooshes here, I miss the whoosh. If what normally happens, it's sniffing out the low and it's deciding whether or not there's enough, those who are holding bullish longs off of lows have to decide if they want to stay in or not. Those who are in short side trades have to decide whether or not they are willing to stay the course or add more. And clearly the answer is no. They wanted to profit take on that last bar, but we're still in a sell signal state. The pressure is still to the downside, and the Nasdaq is what's pushing the ES lower, right? But the range is so large and it's so whippy. We went from what, 580 all the way down to 520-ish or 530-ish in milliseconds, right? That's not easy to trade. Either you accept a lot more risk and volatility in your P&L and just stay the course, or not. And it doesn't make sense. We've come down below the low. The opportunity for it to have rolled over and just fallen off a cliff was there. It's not happening. It's doing the opposite. So back to the ES for me, it was doing the opposite on the NQ. It's doing the opposite on the ES as well. So I'm glad I was able to take a little piece of the sniffing out of the low and add to my P&L, which is good. But getting back on the horse and jumping into a long, way too aggressive, way too whippy for me. How are folks doing overall? Feel free to let me know in the chat. And this is the nature of a market that's in a kill zone, by the way, right? Whippiness and super wiki, as Fuad said in the chat, which is definitely the case that we are dealing with. Definitely super wiki. Okay, I'm starting to see some improvement. Not enough yet to convince me to jump into a long. The Nasdaq just saw a little bit of bearish positions cover their bearish positions, which creates some mechanical buying. If there's going to be follow through buying over here, we can start to theorize here that, okay, this is a channel, and we can start looking, the whole thing is a channel effectively. Let's duplicate that line, and you'll see that it's fairly symmetric, right? And we are technically above the halfway marker of the channel, rising up to the top. So that could be a trade. It's not my preferred trade, but that can be a trade up to the top of the channel, up to the top of a falling channel, right? Which means the closer we get, there's going to be a point where those that have speculated on longs go, okay, I got to get out of the way. And, the whole thing just comes undone. It's above the top of the channel, below the bottom of the channel, where the better decisions are likely to be had. But we may be stuck in a channel for a good chunk of the rest of the morning, right? And that is the reality. At that point, then you try to find the center of the channel and make a decision. And there is a easier way to do this, right? The easier way to do this is to put a linear regression channel on price. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take it from actually, I can take it from the high point here and bring it across the screen. And all I'm doing at this stage is just grooming it, getting it to follow price, right? So the channel that I put on is a mathematical channel, a statistical channel. And the white line running through the center is a best fit line. It's the linear regression line. Above the top, we're 2 standard deviations or more away. And we can be busting the channel. But as we come to the top, the propensity to revert down to the mean, to the primary trend, becomes much greater. About 2/3 of the time, if we're coming up into this area, which would be around 29,715, 710, we would want to come down back to the center and then go lower. If it's going to be a true break, we have to breach it and potentially back test it as support, or rush up above it by a degree that destroys the downtrending action. None of that's happened yet, right? So this is just me preparing. Let's see how the Nasdaq is affecting the ES at this stage. It has pulled it up above the top of the channel. We've got 1 bar closing above the top, 2nd bar closing above the top after a buy signal. We're coming up to the local high at around 74.70. And you'll remember that 7470 is an important number, right? It's the number that matters. So, it's more specifically, it's 74, 71 and 3 ticks. It was this this piece of analysis that I did right up front when we were looking at the big picture in the pre-market. Come up to that water line, come up through that water line, and we've got a much better chance to see long side trades work out, and at least a retrace up to the 73.95-ish area could be in play. So right now, it's trying. It's not there. I'm not going to be trying a trade with this type of action just yet. The NASDAQ is going to egg me on, though. All right. Let's see if it breaches the top of the channel. Typically, when we get up to the top of these channels, we are going to have 2/3, 2 out of 3 chances will be to come back down. 1 out of 3 will be to break out and continue higher above the top of this red diagonal line, which is part of a 3-line channel. So no trade at this moment for me. How's it going on your side, folks? Feel free to comment in the chat. I'm guessing there's a lot of sitting on hands and waiting for better moves. That is that's definitely. I don't have my hands on my buttons, but I'm not executing a trade right now. I'm waiting, right? So we've come literally, within spitting distance of the top of the channel, and we're seeing some erosion. It's not clear yet that we're coming down to the bottom. We'd have to cross the center. So no trade, just waiting. And yeah, the channel so far, Emad, it's worked, right? So far. And Mark G in the chat, I think you have to wait just a little bit for that. So hang tight. I saw your comment in the chat, not ignoring it. Okay, we're trying to come up through the top of the channel now. Let's see if we bust up. Hey, Ark, I'm happy that it was helpful. Okay, we're poking above the top. Okay, so I want to keep that in mind. I still think the NASDAQ is way too expansive and whippy for me to try. So I'm going to keep my trading on the ES for now. Of course, one could switch to the micros on the NQ. I typically don't trade them, so I'm not going to make that shift right now. And, if we look at the median of the 3 indecision candles that happened before the 10 a.m. hour, 10 a.m. on the clock, the number's around 74.69, 74.70, somewhere in that territory. So I'm starting to see it, gather its bearings, try to get a little stronger. I'm not convinced yet that a trade is valid. The NASDAQ is certainly trying to egg it on, but it's slowed down. Again, top of the channel, it's slowed down. Now, the channel values will change as time and price move forward, right? So if it's truly going to break the channel, it will be intra-bar and it'll be an expansive move. Like it'll be 50, 60, 70 points, very, very quickly. And that would be almost, I think, signal worthy. On close of a bar like that, it would be signal worthy. We can remove the word almost at that point. But for now, that's not the case, right? It's struggling, and struggling. You can make the argument, you go back, look left, you're going to see the wicks over here. But if you just compare it to this last area that we've nudged up above, you're missing the bigger picture. And that's what the channel helps with. The channel helps with that, right? It's giving me clarity that says, hey, be careful. You're statistically very far away from normal, and you're more likely going to come back to normal. Well, what's normal? Since cash hours, the move that's been normal is the center line in this channel. So I'm going to wait, not making a decision yet. I'll flip you back to the ES briefly here so we can kind of see if it's maturing. Now, this is the trade that I want to take. I want to take it above 69. And there's a case to be made to take it here, ride it up to 69, take profit there, or be able to scale further in and build up the trade. Because of the nature of the environment we've been in, I don't see consistency in direction. I see it's still wicky, but so I'm going to wait. I'm not going to take it up to the 69.70 marker. I'm going to take it above there. And there's always going to be a pro and con about waiting, right? You get up to the high and it rushes right through. You miss catching it. Okay. It doesn't end up back testing the breakout. You miss catching it there and it just continues on without you. Well, we've got our tools to help us get in still. We'd be able to get in on the speed lines. But I still would like to see it breach the top of that channel before I take any decision. So oil inventories broke. What are you saying, Ruth Ann? And Kai W, congratulations. I'm happy to hear that. On passing an eval, that's amazing. And Ruth Ann, gas stockpiles better than expected, oil worse. Okay. Oil stockpiles lower than expected. Oil being down significantly enough on the day moved that piece off the chessboard for me. It really is, dollar direction at the end of the day. Okay, here we go. We're coming up to it. Okay, action is starting. We've got, fairly well organized up now. Does it breach 69.70? And can I take a poke out, breakout type trade? Does it break out and back test it and bounce? And do I get to take that bounce off of rising near-term support, which would be the speed lines? Or does it fail, right? So let's let the market tell us here. I am more interested in taking the trade that comes back to back test, but I could take a poke out above the high. I'd rather take the trade where I know it's poking out above the highs. It gets above 70, 71, which is, again, that major volume profile resistance on the primary market, the ES, going all the way back to May the 1st, right? It's sitting at rounded up to 74, 72. Right? You can see it on the right-hand side of the screen. Above that number, the door is open for a move up to 95, from 72 to 93, not 95. So that could become an interesting long side trading range if the door opens. We're knocking on it. Okay, no one's home yet. And TJ, the ES is continuing to come up, but it's not taking out, it hasn't taken out that, that volume point of control line that I just highlighted, right? It's coming up to it, but it's not taking it out. So we have to, as traders, we're going to come back to this and go, okay, maybe this is a perfect box that we're in, and maybe we're at the top of the box, right? We can just literally draw in a box on the screen. Let me just get that going here for you. You can literally just draw in a box on the screen and have it be a guiding light, if you will, which would be, let's just take it a little further out into the future here. And I'm just roughly trying to gather the bottom and the top of the box. And put this into perspective, where we're coming from. I'll pull the chart back, right? This has been around for a bit. Obviously, a little more expansive in range than the highs back over here at around 8:30. This is cash hours onwards. But break the top of the box. Give me a reason to take on longs. Okay. I don't want to build a bear up to the top of the box, right? That's why I'm not in a trade. I want the NASDAQ to break free as well of its resistive structures and tell me that it's ready to go. So it's still struggling at the top of that channel, right? The channel was put on with some purpose, and I'm seeing more buy signals build under price, right? We've got the double green dots from the Triple S toolkit, breakout forecaster, wealth signal. This is all still on a 1-minute chart, right? The 5-minute chart's the one. The 5-minute chart is showing promise, right? It's got a Triple S buy. It's getting closer and closer to the waterline for the NQ, which is 29,820. So there's some encouraging action happening, slowed down with still a big range. making it not an ideal, trading day. But Mama said there's going to be days like these. Mama said that there would be good days as well from a trading standpoint. My P&L is under control, and I want to add to it now. I want to be able to take that breakout trade. So I'm going to wait. Let's see if we get it. Yeah, it makes sense, right, TJ? It does. And ARC, the speed lines are a form of moving averages. Yes, of course, right? And there's two of them. The blue one is the fast one, and the magenta one is the slow one. So there's your answer to that, ARC. The Nasdaq's getting perky enough, right? It's sitting at 29,780, 785. It's on its way up to 820 potentially, and it could become a better trade. But again, we're at the top of a range and it's slowed down. So I don't want to be building a bear on the way up. Let someone else build a bull in this case, and break out above the top of the range. Let someone else build it, get us up to the top, break us out. Okay. Now you can see it on the Nasdaq side yourself as well. Let me just pinch the chart a little bit here. So we have come up above the highs from here. So there is a definitive improvement. It leans to taking on long side trades. I just want to pick my spot as carefully as I can here and make the highest probability decision that I can. So I'm going to wait for the top of the box to be broken, and then I'm going to be looking for a long side trade. Now, as traders, I was mentioning, look, we're at the top of a range. What if it fails? Where can I start looking short? The number would be below 58, which would be putting us in the lower half of the moving support and resistance channel, which is the three lines that I'm highlighting here. But the signals are more organized for it to breach the top, break out. And it's the nature of the breakout that would be interesting, right? If it's a breakout and it's just a breakout and go, I'll have to find a way of catching the coattails of that. If it's a breakout and then a back test of the breakout level, and then followed by a bounce, catching that bounce would be the sweet spot. But what if it fails? So we've already got the answer embedded on the tools on the screen, right? 59 would be the number, or you can wait for the center of the box, which would be around 54. So either or could work. Now I'm not cheerleading one side or the other, but I've got more organized signals for up. And the Nasdaq continues trying to reach. It's trying to reach and reach and reach, but it's not really getting anywhere yet. You'll see that yourself now. So this is a 1 minute chart on the NQ, and wiki, indecision, wiki, bearish reversal or indecision. Probably will end up with indecision. Now, there are more organized buy signals here, but I would like to see a breakout to take the trade. Back to the ES over here. And Alex, you're right. That's why I'm saying, could one take the short at the top? Yes. The earliest would be below 59, right? And if the Nasdaq starts to crumble and break support structures, I may end up doing just that. It is the top of the range, right? There are more signals organized on a 5 minute chart and a 1 minute chart, which really covers the next 20 to 90 minutes, between the ES and the NQ on the long side. But can't avoid the fact that it is coming down towards the center of the box, and it's coming down to the center of the MSR channel, and that can open the door for a short side trade. And back down we go. It's a higher risk decision before the center of the box. I'm taking it. I've tried it. I'm in. I want to see direct continuation lower. I'm not seeing enough. The next bar is building up. I'm not interested in staying. So I lost 2 points on that particular entry. Okay, so that was a very early, entry to try to see if we could short the top of the range and come in. Now I'm going to wait for the center of the range to break. Right? I didn't get the timing on that last one correct. if it is going to break the center, that is, right? So let's wait. Let's see how it plays itself out. Okay, it's gathering its bearings again. So is the Nasdaq. Okay. The Nasdaq's not in as perfect a box, but it's now getting closer to that. The channel becomes more irrelevant at this stage. So I'm going to get that off the screen. It is more symmetric to a box because we have come up and poked above the high here, still under the highs here from shortly after the open. But we dipped down into rising support on a 1-minute chart. Still have the champion trend buy zone in place, have the champion cross buy zone in place, the double red dots in place from the triple S tool, but price is below the speed lines. So no trade. And if we change our view to the 5-minute chart, which is the day trading chart, it's still struggling to claw its way through all of the resistive structures that you see above price, right? Which is the top band of the channel, the champion trend sell zone trail line. You know, these are two resistive structures that would have to break through, and that's sitting at 773 and 812, and we're below both. So perhaps it does work out, Alex D, to the short side. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the flow here. I'm gonna just expand the box. I want to expand the box. I don't want to really change the range. There we go, back to where it should be. And let's see if I can expand the box. All right, this is the way the table is set. You know, we didn't quite come all the way down to the center of the range. Didn't quite come down to the center of the range and breach it. We're eroding in the buy signal, but we did come up to the top of the range. So to Alex's point, could a short be taken off the top of the range? With buy signals in place on the 5-minute and the 1-minute, I want to see some damage, right? So I saw some damage below the MSR channel. I took a trade there. That didn't give me anything. I then said I'd have to wait for the center of the range, which I will be 54, 53 and a half, somewhere around there. Shorting below that can make more sense, right? I could see that as a reason to play it down to the bottom. But we should constantly be looking for signs and clues that things are improving in one side of the signal set or not. Right? And at this stage, the buy signal that was in play is eroding. You can see the double green dots go to single blue. See prices struggling on a 1-minute chart underneath the speed lines. Problematic, not opportunistic, problematic. What about the Nasdaq? It's in the same sort of picture, right? I just haven't drawn a box on the screen over here. It's not as clean a box. Okay, let's see if it's trying to gather itself and push up. Again, my preference is going to be to trade the ES until we're clearly trending. We're in a range, but we're seeing the NQ push the ES up towards the top of the box. Right, so there's two types of trades. One is the breach of the box and go. One is the back test after the breach, or it could end up being that it just breaches and goes and have to find a way of catching it on small pullbacks. So it's up to 69. It's trying to break the top of the box. My preferred trade would be break out above the top of the box, come back down to back test it, and then bounce up off. So we're breaching the top of the box. We're coming up to the 71, 72 area, which is a major volume point of control line, where we've expanded by a point or so above the highs of the session, cash session. Let's see if we get a back test, and I can take the back test and bounce. Okay, a little red, that's good. It's not going enough. I'm gonna have to grab onto it as it's trying to rise. I'm trying it. I'm trying it still. I'm still in it. Still in it. I'm taking a whopping $50 of profit on that one. Okay, still profit. It didn't back test. It did not launch higher. It is trying to continue now, and now I have to find a reason or a way to get in. The Nasdaq is actually my guide right now at this moment, and let me share why. So on a 1 minute chart, we seemingly have broken through structures, right? The 1 minute chart is like a triggering chart. The 5 minute chart's got the structures that matter. On the 5 minute chart, we've come up to the champion trend sell zone trail line. I think we've just tagged it perfectly at 812. The high of that bar, or maybe a point above it, 813. So perhaps the door is starting to open, but open that door above 812, 813 on the NQ, and give me a reason to take on more long on the ES, or try an NQ trade long, which is I've been trading the ES for a while now, right? So the NQ's breached. I'm taking on the long. I've missed my entry timing. Right, I tried to get in, but I'm still seeing profit positivity, which is good. I want to see it last. I'm taking $60, $50 of profit there. So I'm scraping pieces of the move up rather than holding the move. I'm waiting to see if the NQ can sustain on its 5 minute chart above that structure. And it's expanding up to the top now of its a range high from 830. So that becomes your next resistive structure. It's about 30, 40 points away. All right, but it's in a good enough signal state to keep encouraging me to try to take the ES long and longer. I know it's a little stretched right now. And my question to those that are participating right now is, are you long, short, or flat? And I'm happy to share that sentiment back if I get enough responses. If you're busy trading, please focus on that. So I think I'm going to try a back test of the speed lines and bounce if that occurs. So far, we've not back tested the fast speed line, except for the launch bar. So perhaps this is indecision. Perhaps the next bar opens up, goes a little green, comes back down to test the fast speed line, and then I can go. The Nasdaq is still struggling to get above 70, 870. It's almost there. It's at 865, 860. And this is a dangerous moment because the Nasdaq has been leading the ES. It's coming up to resistance at around 870, 875, has not breached it. That's the resistance structure from highs made around 830. So I'd like to see it just, go, go, go. And it's going. I'm trying it right now on the ES on the basis of the NQ pushing through 870. It's profit positive, and I'm taking another, looks like a half a point of profit on that trade. So a couple of ticks on the ES there. Now it's hesitating. It breached it, and then it pulled back. So it did breach the local high from pre-market at around 870, and it backed off. So it's a similar sort of discussion as when we had at the top of the box for the ES, right? The Nasdaq's coming up to the top of its box from 830. And the ES is well above, right? It's well above. So the Nasdaq is still bullying the ES around though, right? So I use the interplay between the markets to avoid just sitting in a long and seeing it erode, right? I was able to get a half a point of profit out of it. And I'm going to wait to see if the resumption now becomes a thing that I can take on. The NQ is sitting at 835. I need to see it above 875, right? So it's trying to get itself back up again. And if it's able to make that thrust up towards 875, might as well show you. So let's just bring that back up so you can see it. So this is a 5 minute chart. We're above the champion trend sell zone. We're coming up to the local high, which we already breached from 8:30 in the morning or 8:15 in the morning. We want the Nasdaq to lift the ES above, to lift the ES by doing what it's trying to do right now, which is go eat back into that wick, get back up above 870, and give me an opportunity to take that ES long again. So I'm sitting at 860 right now on the NQ. I've got to push up towards the high on the ES. It's almost above the high. Now the speed line's compressed, which is not ideal, right? This is not ideal. There's less air in between the fast and the slow speed line, which usually presents before the fast speed line crosses back down under, in this case, the slow speed line, and we have a pullback. Right, you can see that, right here, right? But there are moments where it comes close, it kisses and bounces, and it expands like it did over here, right? Or it could be a moment like this, right? When you see the compression between the speed lines, like even on the left-hand side of the screen, okay, it's something to be warned on. And that kept me out of, firing off another long, as well as looking at the NQ and seeing that it was not sustaining above 870. It still has a better than fair chance to try to do that, but I'm not taking a trade right now on it. I'm going to be waiting. So from that last poll that I did in the chat, the majority are flat to long based on the responses that I got. Okay, the ES is now starting to lead the NQ actually, which is pretty cool, but I don't trust that. The NQ is the problematic index. It's the one that's got the the anchors from East Asia and the tech wreck that's happened over there. So yeah, I'm gonna wait to see the NQ get above 870, 880, and validate that it wants to push the ES up. So we've got a little kiss and bounce on the speed lines here, which is in and of itself a pattern. It says that we're going to start the move again, and it can actually be expansive. All I'm doing is waiting right now for the NQ to give me a little bit more gusto above 870, 880. It's almost there. If it's able to get there, I'm going to try the ES on a long, which has now come up above the highs. The NQ is struggling its way, but it has not made it there yet. It's at 861 at this moment in time. And Nixie, I like your comment, right? We're coming up to the point where we had the sell-off yesterday happen, and we're headed into the lull part of the day. So it probably would make less sense to be swinging for the fences at this stage. I agree with that. If I can squeeze out one more trade, if the NASDAQ wants to rally into the end of the hour, I may end up taking it on the NQ, but I think I'm going to stick with the ES at this stage. Okay, NQ's getting perkier. It's at 864, 62. It's still struggling. It's trying its best to make the move. And I don't want to flip charts too often here. We're at 855 right now. Need it above the wick of the last closed 5-minute bar effectively. I'm going to flip it down to a 1-minute bar so you can kind of see that with a little more granularity. So 876 is the number. 877 above there. It's not in a topping range, then it's in a consolidate bullishly to continue range. We can only describe it afterwards. And that's not what's happening, right? So that was the worry, and that kept me out of taking on a long side trade. We weren't able to see the NASDAQ muster up enough strength to actually push through that threshold and pull the ES up. And now we are seeing a little erosion. But dynamics into the end of the hour can sometimes be counterintuitive. One of the things that you have to keep in mind into the end of the hour is a bunch of volume is going to get lopped off after 11 a.m., which includes North American strategies. Obviously, Eurozone strategies are in play. They get taken off the table. So volume, whatever strategies they were working on, those biases, that influence on the market goes away. And it was a very mixed market that turned a little bit more net long after we broke the box, but we don't have a sizable deviation above the box. We do have the beginnings of an uptrend. So, what I can theorize for folks listening in right now is after the low made at 10:20 a.m. Eastern time, 1 minute bars, and the low, which involved consolidation, which then broke out at around 10:44, we can start putting in an uptrend. We've already got the channel in play, right? It's the channel that needs to be engaged with then. If this thing erodes, come down, test the channel, bounce off the upper half of the channel. If we directly come back up right now and the NQ just blasts up into the last couple of minutes of the hour, I could probably take on a scalp-like trade on the ES, which I'm actually considering right now. And for me, it would be above 86 and a half. So I'm getting ready for that in the case that it presents. I'm not going to call it a high grade or A grade trade. It'll be in the C grade category. And I'm not holding my breath for it, just letting folks know this is not an extraordinarily great setup, right? The NASDAQ is still facing problems getting above that 870 marker, which is really the high of the second last close, 875 marker, which is the high of the second last close 5-minute bar. It's maintaining a buy signal though. It's above the MSR channel. It's holding in between the speed lines. It is more encouraging for a rise. That there's no question about that. But a rise that is trigger worthy for a trade, not yet. Not yet. So at this stage, I'm going to wind down my trading activities. Unless I see a great opportunity present itself. I'm probably going to slow my jets down. We're going to move into the lessons learned from this market morning. What's the aftermath, from the market telling us, and then we can go from there. So I have not made a whole bunch of headway in my P&L. It is profit positive, but I have not made a whole bunch of headway in this market morning. So I'm looking for something cleaner, trend-wise to break out, break down, to jump in on. But I am profit positive on the day. And I'll bring that up on your screen to share that with you. Just bear with me for a moment to get that organized on screen so you can see that. Let's pop that up on screen right now for you. And we are rising into the end of the hour. We are above 86. I'm not going to take any more trades at this stage, but I am going to share with you the results so far on the accounts that I have been trading here. Let me just get that up on screen. So there it is. It should pop up in a second here. Daily P&L, which is today. So I traded two different accounts in front of you. One is in the negative 125. One is in the positive 237. So very slightly profit positive, bringing in a little bit from yesterday as well, which is kind of nice on the total P&L. And at this stage, I want to take the best high probability decisions that I can. And I'm waiting for the NQ to really come up and get up and above 75, 76. And it's trying to do so right into the end of the hour. For me, my rule is I'm going to let the hour change happen as we're so close to it. And if there's an opportunity to play follow up, after that, sure, no problem. I'm still hesitant to use the NQ until I see, more entrenched trending behavior. So I'm still going to be more interested in trading the ES. And the good news on the ES is we've come up above the 70 line. We're at the 93 line right now. And the 92, 93 line is a volume profile zone of resistance that we've already breached. So it's very encouraging for a market that tries to continue to try and retrace yesterday's damage, right? If you take a look at just the range of the body of the red candle, right? So right over here, the top of the body, the bottom of the body, not the full range. You can, if you want, look at the full range. We're more than halfway back, or just about that halfway marker as we speak right now. The 50% line is somewhat important, but knowing that there's a volume profile node of resistance right there at 93 is more important. So above 93, 94, the door continues to remain open for it to, try to struggle and grind its way up and retrace up to the next weekly pivot level, which would be around the 75.15 or 14 area. If you look at this from the NASDAQ standpoint, I'll just put the NASDAQ daily chart up on screen now. Okay, its waterline was 820. Okay, it's at 880 right now. So it's holding above that waterline of 820. It's gotten above the next weekly pivot level, which is sitting at 29,865. And what I need to see at this stage is the desire to continue up and to take out structures of resistance on the technical tools that we're dealing with here. We're a little stretched on statistical measures at this moment, but it is still working fairly well. I'm still seeing an NQ that is taking out the highs. It's trying to trend up. It's in the upper half of the triple S channel, and it's trying to grind its way higher. Now, just a little round table on how things went on your side. I shared with you my results on the day. Not incredible, but still profit positive. And looking at building on that as I see this bounce start to mature. Just remember, this is a bounce after making slightly lower lows up to the top of all of the wicks that we've seen here, right? We're trying to clear them. Obviously, the one to clear would be the high water mark is the bearish reversal candle we got at 10 a.m. yesterday, but we're trying to grind our way up to it right now. And as far as challenge levels go for the NQ, the MSR channel center at around 910 is the next challenge level. It opens up the upper half of that range. But let's see how folks have commented on the chat. Feel free to let me know how the morning went for you right now. And if I think I want to take about a 2-minute pause to just get a tasty beverage. Maybe it'll just be water. So I'm going to take a very brief pause here, and give folks an opportunity for a bit of a bio break as well, and we can come back on live in just a couple of minutes. So let's do that right now. All right, I am back, folks. So let's get back on the horse here. All right, folks. So I know that the nature of a day where we're in a kill zone is a challenging trading day. It's up to the individual trader to decide whether or not they want to attack that day. I'm here to try to work through it with you and, of course, earn along the way as well, which I did modestly today, but of course, a little bit challenging. So now, when we take a look at the nature of the day, as we started off the trading day today, how did we start off? We started off with a very clear understanding that we were in a kill zone. What is a kill zone? So think about it as jaws coming down on price action. Effectively, best way to do this is for me to draw this. So let me just draw it out over here. The idea would be we've got falling resistance above price, right, which is the speed lines at the end of the day. And then we've got rising support underneath price. And you can think about these two as jaws in just a moment. Effectively coming down to clamp down on the prey, which would be the retail trader, and we want to avoid being the hunted, as you hear Rob say. We want to be the hunter, not the hunted. So we've effectively seen the top jaw clamp down, the bottom jaw clamp up, and we're in the middle of that. Now, this is a daily chart. There's obviously a lot of range here, right? But is this a clean environment to allow for trending action to happen? No, we haven't broken out or broken down against the major structures on a day over day basis that opens up a new move for the market. All right, we've already had a sell-off. We got oversold. We started off the day in what would be described as a kill zone. We've come up from the bottom of that kill zone without breaching the center of the MSR channel, without coming down below the center of the three lines here, which is the MSR channel, moving support and resistance. So below that 29,450-ish area, the bottom jaw is broken, and there's a cleaner move to short down to the lows that we had back on June the 9th for the NQ, June the 11th for the ES. So that didn't happen. We saw an oversold market. Upon entry on the day, we knew we were in an oversold market. We then, refined, and got down to the point where there was a very distinctive range that we were trading through on the ES in particular. But we understood that even though we're in an oversold market, right, we are still in a pattern that is not elected to say this is consolidate to continue lower, or this is a basing range to bounce up and go higher. Right? We've not broken above structures of resistance on that daily chart that open that door. We've not broken below support structures and sustained there. We did come down and make a lower low, right? That happened. We saw that happen on the 10 a.m. bar. It was very short-lived. We made a lower low versus the lows that were made over here, 9 a.m. bar yesterday, 2 p.m. bar yesterday. And the thought that I given you yesterday is, look, the dominant signals that we have that expand over hours to days still say this negative energy, this downside pressure is here. It's not going away. And that's the case that we are still in. We still have a 4-hour chart that is in a sell signal state. The daily chart, as you just saw me draw it out, I've taken the lines off, but it's in a kill zone. Just focus on the speed lines coming down, MSR channel upper half coming up, right? That's clamping down on price. And obviously, we are oversold. We've held the bottom jaw, and we're trying to bounce up towards the top jaw. Now, where's the top jaw? 30,100, 100 and change, up to potentially 30,300. That's the expanse between just the two speed lines here on the daily chart. So wider range market, that's to be sure. And you can see very clearly here, the 4-hour chart still in a sell signal state, still in the sell zone, still in the champion cross sell zone, still got the dot at the bottom of the main chart, still in a triple S sell zone. That's the down triangle. Okay. But we've been going sideways. So when we refine it down to the 1-hour chart at this stage, and we see that we've got a kickoff bar, it's kicking up and it's trying to get us up in the air. And we don't cross thresholds that matter. It shouldn't be a surprise that we're coming back down. I think we also had some comments in the chat earlier where folks are looking at this and going, hey, this could be a double top, right? So at this moment, I'm still, sitting back going, this could still turn out exactly like yesterday did, right? We're in a market where the 4-hour charts, 1-hour charts are in sell signals. The opportunity to rise is stifled by this kill zone that we're in. We've got a strong US dollar, which is a headwind to equities in general, certainly taking the shine off of gold and silver today, that's to be sure. And now you're left, coming down from the top of a higher range, if you will, or higher marker for this range. Now, the best description of this all was really seen in the more orderliness of the ES, right? So the ES did break its box. It broke that 1-minute chart box. It's coming back down now to a rising channel. Okay, the channel's flattened out, but it's still in an upward move. And if we get a reversal up here that takes us back up above 84, 85, 74, 84, 85, we're back on trend. We should be expecting a higher high. However, if we come back down to the top of the box that we broke out above, right, which is seemingly where it wants to go, that becomes another moment where you go, okay, perhaps we're just going to move into another sideways range. We've just leveled up to a higher range in price for that sideways range. The ideal outcome here that would make it smoother for trades would be a long side trade. ES gets pulled up by the NQ. We get above 74.85, and we see the NQ take us back up above the speed lines, roughly above 29,820, 830, and it's game on again for up. But don't hope for that outcome, right? That's one scenario that can play out. The other scenario that can play out here is, we've just made, made a test effectively of the top of a box that we've been in, going back to this is a 5-minute chart on the NQ. We could theoretically say it goes back to top of box 12 p.m. Eastern time yesterday. So in fact, might as well get that box on the screen. So I'm just going to quiet the chart down for a bit here. I'll leave the subchart indicator on, and I'm just going to simply bring in a box here, which will probably be a good way for me to, solidify the lessons from the morning and provide an outlook as well, as you move through the rest of your trading day. So from around there to around here, I'm trying to create as many intersections as I possibly can with the wicks and tails of price action. So let's call the top of the box 29,900. Okay, 29,900. Let's call the bottom of the box 29,575. So 900 to 575. Okay, there's your expansive 325 point range that we're in, and the dynamics around the center become quite valuable to help us understand what's going to happen next. I'm just going to make this full screen for a moment, and we're just going to deal with the shape of the market, as it sits right now. Now, the red line moving around, for those that are new, is just the current price line. So all I'm going to do right now is just grab a single line to get on screen over here, a horizontal line, to kind of get the center of the box drawn in for you, which is effectively here, right? So around 29,730, 735 would be effectively the center of that box. And we've come very close to it and reversed up off of it over the last closed 5-minute bar. Encouraging, right? If it stays in the upper half, makes a run for the border top, gets above the 29,895 marker, we've got a basing range, and we've got a range that we can see price expand higher above, and try to eat into some of that nasty red from yesterday and the wee hours of the morning of yesterday, that is. So that's one way that this can play out. So one scenario would be come up to the top of the box, breach it, continue onwards, and follow the signals to help you with long side trades. Obviously, be mindful of the high point that did happen right over here around 30,000 and about 50 points or so on the NQ. The alternative here is come down below the center of the box, and then it's short side trading down to the bottom of the box. So from effectively 29,735 down to 29,575 would be that range. So one scenario is up we go to the top of the box. Perhaps there's some trading to be had on the way up. I probably would want to do it on the ES, not on the NQ, because of how wide range these bars are. And then above the top of the box, one scenario to get back up to the high water mark from yesterday cash hours or higher. Other scenario, break below the center of the box around 735 and a trade down to 575 or lower. Right? That's the way the dinner table is set at this stage. Give me a lucky number 7 in the chat if this makes sense. You can type that number 7 in the chat if the message is received. So all I'm doing is trying to craft out a couple of scenarios. Now, the lesson learned is when you're in a kill zone, being in a kill zone and trying to take advantage of expansive moves when they flip on a dime can be dangerous, right? Hindsight, it's always easy to trade the past, but you can't actually do that with a broker, right? So I was able to make it through alive and profit positive on the day so far. Small profit, but still profit positive on the day. You can see low triple digits. Still looking at building on that. In order to build on that, I do need to see a good pattern. I'm seeing the ES do what I'd like it to do, right? We're above 85. We're in a bounce off of the MSR channel. This is a third higher low technically. That would be a low. That would be a secondary higher low. That would be the third. We could draw a nice little line right through that. Am I convinced that it's just going to go up, up, and away into the lunch hour? Well, I really need the NASDAQ to be the proponent of that and to be the protagonist of the move. In order for it to do that, it needs to come up to the top of the box and tell me that it wants to break the top of the box. At bare minimum, it needs to get above the 820, 830-ish marker, which is not that far away from the top of the box to begin with. Now, I want to make sure that I also answer any questions that come through the chat. So you do know that from around 11 a.m. Eastern time to 11:30, it's really about the lessons learned. From 9:15 to 9:30 Eastern time, it's the pre-market read. It's the battlefield briefing. Then it's active live fire, active operations from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And then from 11 a.m. to 11:30, it really is about understanding what has happened. It's the debrief. And it's, of course, a moment in time to manicure any questions that you may have, issues that you may be seeing, things that are not clear to you. Of course, I'm always open to that during this part of the session in particular. What I want to make sure I leave you with, though, is that very clear scenario for, hey, if we're going up, what could be done? What do we need to see? If we're going down, where can we see? And I've kind of centered that around the NQ because it's the bully in the market at the end of the day. Now, back down below 735, shorting down to 575 or lower is probably the way that one would want to trade. While we're above, the center of the box, but we've come down from the top, we need to see some real proof that it's going to gather its bearings and continue up, right? And so far it has not. The ES is seemingly more stable, but it too is not giving me an expansive move up. I'll flip this to a 5-minute chart to make it a little more clean to look at. It's broken up above the top of the range from yesterday's high, right? So it's come up above there. That is encouraging. That is encouraging. There's no question about that. But if the NASDAQ's going to act like an anchor, it's going to discourage trading. And the NASDAQ is acting as an anchor at this moment in time. And I will be, Peter L., I will be presenting each day here. So I'm here each day, same time, same place. Looks like there's lots of positive feedback coming in from the chat, so that's amazing. I'm happy to hear that from folks. Being methodical about days that start off where you're in a kill zone and being more, I don't want to use the word conservative, but making sure your risk management is totally dialed in. As you see, I take trades, completely directional, discretionary trades, right? So I'm not sitting there and I'm not pre-planning my exit mechanically. I've pre-planned my exit, based on the structures on the chart, and then I have to exit if it doesn't work, as you saw me do. And if it does work, I'm confident in holding the position if the market's stable and continue to run. If it's going to be very whippy, not interested in running with it. It's kind of like the astronaut going on a spacewalk. The longer the astronaut's outside of the space station, there's more risk, right? The longer longer that walk lasts, there's more risk. There's equipment can go bad, micrometeorites, solar blasts, whatever it may be. There's more opportunity for harm to come to the astronaut while he or she is in that spacewalk. But back on the station, it's a lot easier. So I think of trading that way as well, right? If I'm putting my astronaut outside of the space station and they're doing their job, I don't want to be there for very long. I want to get the job done and come back home, right? So I want to be out of the position as soon as I know I've seen a target met or I've seen a target fail to be met, either or. How was the morning overall for everyone? I hope that this morning was good for you. I ended up profit positive. And I'm looking forward to building on that with you tomorrow, of course. I'm hopeful that the format that you're kind of seeing things kind of unfolding over here is giving you some structure for each day that you approach the market. It's a very complex organism, right? It's something that you're trying to diagnose in real time, follow signals, and then execute with excellence. So there's a lot on the table to do each day when it comes to actively trading markets. There's a lot to learn always, but at the end of the day, everyone finds their sweet spot, what setups you're comfortable with. If the setups are comfortable, you've seen them before, it's like a menu, right? You go to the restaurant that you're comfortable in. The restaurant today was a kill zone, right? It was an abattoir. It was not a happy buffet. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we walked out fairly well, and I saw some good results from folks that commented in the chat. So I'm happy to see that. That's amazing for those who are sharing the results in the chat. Folks trading multiple accounts. That's amazing. So I'm trying to see the name. So just change the game. Kudos on your results there. That's amazing. I'm happy to hear that. And to everyone else that wrote in, I'm super happy to hear that. So that's great. Ark, I'm happy to hear that comment as well. Are you comfortable with me reading that out to everyone? I'll be happy to do that because I think that can help reinforce, hey, that this is a trading practice and we're continuing to build our skill set each day and find the sweet spots. I'm sitting there looking at the ES right now going, I really want to get into this long side move, but it's faltering, right? We saw the 1 minute chart, we saw the rise, and I was very close to wanting to even take a trade during this segment of our morning session above 85, but I've been waiting. And I think the wait was correct because the NASDAQ is acting like a drag at this stage. And there you have it, folks. So this brings us close to the end. And yes, there will be, Mike R. Yes, there will be. So here's your first piece of evidence now on the scenario of us potentially going down, right? So we've broken the center of the box, or at least breached it. We don't have the bar closed yet. It's a 5 minute bar. Still has some life left on it. It was just born about 50 seconds ago. So we can take it down to a 1 minute chart and you can see the superimposed box on the screen. And this would make for potentially some decent short side trading, down below the lows, anywhere below 712 at this stage, 710, 700, to try to take it down towards the bottom of the box. All right, folks. Well, I had a lot of fun this morning. It was a kill zone that we walked into. We understood it. We understood the market dynamics. We saw the table was set. And we're able to trade through it. Saw some great results from folks in the chat, which is amazing. I was able to walk out in a profit positive state as well, which I'm happy about. But what makes me really happy is finding great setups and then being able to execute. The more we can find that are on our menus, our individual menus for our great setups, the more we can then take successful high probability trades. All right, folks, that brings me to the end of my time with you this morning. Big thank you for taking the time to be here with all of us and me, of course, in this market morning. Wealth Charts did it again for me today. It got all the things up that I needed and gave me all the insight that I needed to help me navigate this market. And it looks like it did that for many of you too. And I'm looking forward to building on this again with you tomorrow. So profit positive morning in a kill zone in a market that has still not figured out whether or not the damage from yesterday is going to be built upon, and we're going to get deeper depths on market price action, or are we actually going to see the hopefulness surrounding whatever Micron delivers after the bell, hold the market up, and if it does something that's delightful, perhaps we get a bounce that can last a little longer and be in play. All right, folks, that's it for me. I hope that you had a great morning overall. I look very much forward to repeating it with you tomorrow and building on it with you tomorrow. Have an incredible rest of your day. And again, a big thanks for taking the time to actually be here, listen in, engage, ask questions, and build your trading practice alongside us over here. Bye for now, everyone, and kudos to everyone for being in the room today and working hard at getting something out of the morning. Bye for now, all.